I don't know how you pronounce your last name.
Denikovich.
Denikovich. I was Denikovich at a spin class that I did with my wife. So I'm Officer Woltz, Police Department, and I've been doing the job for about 10 years. I do three things. I do patrol, I do traffic homicide investigations, and I do bike patrol also. So I told her I'd come and talk about a few things. I know a lot of people on this texting and driving and killing people while they're texting and driving, or distracted driving is the big thing now. I know there's a lot of people onto that. And I talked to Shauna Barnett, I don't know if you all know her. She's the district attorney for the city of Huntsville. The way the Alabama law is written, there is loophole after loophole in there, okay? So, in other words, you are permitted to scroll through your contacts. You are permitted to scroll through your contacts and make a phone call. You're permitted to go through and put a direction in your maps. You are permitted to go through and look at like a destination you're looking for. You're permitted to do all those things. So the whole like distracted driving thing and texting and driving law, that's why there's so many gray areas in there. And that's why we don't, as a traffic homicide investigator, I have never convicted anybody of texting and driving and killing somebody. Okay, do I believe it's happened? Yes, I just can't prove it. And the reason we can't prove it is based on cell phone towers. So I'll tell you a case we have right now is we have one that involves an officer that he was hit on the interstate from behind, okay, by a younger girl. We did get her phone. It only took Verizon 5 months to get us back the data that we needed. Okay, the problem is it only pings off certain towers, right? And so she sent 12 text messages from the time that she left I-65 and got onto I-565, okay? She sent 12 between that and striking Officer Flannery and hitting him, rear-ending him as he was stopped in the roadway on a traffic accident with his code equipment on, and there was a fire truck out there as well, okay? She claimed she didn't see any of them. I can't remember what time she struck him, but we went back and we got, and he was severely injured, and this has been like 2 years, I think, because he now just came back to work. When we got everything, the time that the accident came out in her last text message was about 3.5 minutes, right? So did that text message cause her crash? Yes, but any defense attorney can argue and say that she drove 3 minutes after that last text message, because that's what it's going to show us. Because it doesn't, when you send a text, it doesn't show up right away. It takes that cell phone tower probably 30 seconds to a minute to click to get that text. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's what shows up on the bill when we get the pings on the cell phone towers. That's how it shows up. It shows up when that tower actually received the text message. So that's why there's a gap in there, and that's why it's so hard, because any defense attorney can refute it and go, well, the police were called at 3:30. She sent the text at 3:27 or 3:28. Does that make sense? So there's no way, there's no way that text happened. Does that, you kind of see what I'm saying? Or
also doesn't take into account her reading the reply.
Right, and there's no crime in reading a reply either. Believe that. Okay, there's no crime, because if you send me a text while I'm driving, I don't tell you I'm driving, you have no knowledge of me driving. So there's no crime in that, and there's no crime for me to read it either. Right? And so that's why it's so difficult. And the distracted driving, we don't really have a distracted driving law here. We only have the texting and driving. We would need, according to Shauna Barnett, we would probably need 3 or 4 witnesses to say, yes, I saw the bubbles as this person is typing. I saw them send it. Who's going to have that at 70, 80 miles an hour driving down the interstate, or even 40 going down Bob Wallace, And if you're looking over to your left at 40, who's looking at the road? You're clearly not looking at the road either, And that's where the law gets really sticky for us. I did look up some case law stuff. In some of the states like Tennessee and Georgia that does hands-free, they're a little more strict with their They actually have a distracted driving law. That's why they went hands-free. The problem with their law is you can take your cell phone and you can stick it up one of those holders, right? And then there's no crime in touching your phone, going through your maps, because you're not holding your phone at that point. Another loophole yet in in the law, right?
Mhm.
Because why? Because they're always gonna make loopholes for the citizens to get through. You know what I mean? And ours is just, Alabama's is just terrible. Our texting and driving law is absolutely terrible. We need a warrant to get into the phone, right? I can't just take Rob's phone at a car crash and start going through his phone. I have to have a warrant.
Even
I
if
have to
it's-
willingly give it to you.
If you kill somebody in a crash, you don't have to. I can take it as evidence,
Yeah.
but I still have to get a warrant. And I'm gonna tell you that Apple, anything on an Apple phone, good luck.
Mhm.
Apple refuses anything. They don't care they don't care if you have a warrant. They will have an attorney call you and tell you that's not happening.
Does it matter if it's got a PIN code to get into it or not?
We can get into it. It goes to the FBI lab.
That's, if you pick up a phone that happens to be unlocked,
Right,
are you allowed to look at it?
no.
Okay, that's
No.
what I was.
Supreme Court said the phone is an extension of your person, therefore it
Yeah.
would be an unreasonable search and
It's
seizure.
under your Fourth Amendment rights.
Mhm.
Now, can I take that phone, I can put it in evidence, I can go get a warrant to go through that phone, send the warrant to the FBI on the arsenal, and then they can get into the phone. But again, Apple phones are horrible because Apple believes in your privacy 100%.
Mhm.
And they're the ones that actually have to release everything to, say, Verizon or T-Mobile. Verizon's really good about releasing stuff. T-Mobile, not so much. T-Mobile is real big into people's privacy too. They will play with you and send you all sorts of reasons why they won't do it. Verizon, once they get the go-ahead, say, from Samsung, Verizon will just give you everything you need. It's still gonna take them some time, but Verizon's are much more forthcoming, you know. I think that has something to do with Verizon does a lot of city contracts with a lot of municipalities. And a lot of police departments use them for their data. We used to use them for our body cameras and our in-car cameras. We don't anymore, but we used to. So I think that's why they're a little more forthcoming.
Mhm.
Or T-Mobile and your other ones are not. They are very difficult to deal with. And Apple is extremely difficult. Apple's one of the hardest phones to unlock, actually.
I think we can all remember the terrorist activity that happened a few years ago.
Right.
They said
So,
they got a company in Israel that was able to unlock the phone. And then after that, they supposedly closed that loophole that the company in Israel used.
right. Apple's good. They're pretty much the best. It's so hard these days and I know a lot of people want these people punished, but again, at the end of the day I'm not here to say that someone's life doesn't matter, but do I want to put a 17-year-old in prison for the rest of their life because they texted and driving and killed somebody on a bike? You know, and I get it's tragic, but how many people text and drive and don't get in trouble? You know, I use it as it's like running a stop sign. If Rob runs a stop sign and kills somebody, should I put Rob in prison for the rest of his life? You see what I'm saying? And until the law gets better or you are able to find ways to punish people for the texting and driving, I think I don't know that you could get it unless somebody just outright admitted it, you know? And if somebody outright admits it, they're probably not gonna hang them out on a murder charge anyway. You'd probably be more looking at vehicular homicide, which is gonna be a class 1 misdemeanor, and they're probably gonna walk away anyway with there's probation.
Murder, you have to show intent.
Mhm.
You do. You have to show intent, or you have to show that they intentionally were texting and driving. Like their intent was to text and drive and probably drove out there erratically and hurt somebody. But again, good luck, because you're never going to be able to get that. You know, you would need to hope for like a DUI situation. You know, that's what you really need is someone probably under the influence of something plus the texting, and then maybe you're going to.
And then the other thing is if I'm driving down the
But if they're
road,
DUI, it's already automatically their fault.
I could care less about the texting and driving at that point.
Yeah.
You know.
well, like if they do fix the law, and I'm driving down the road,
Mhm.
and I have my phone on vibrate that's sitting on the seat next to me or wherever it's sitting.
Open it. If you don't open your text.
Yeah,
Like mine, if you have an iPhone, you have the little blue dot.
Yeah.
Once you open it, that's.
Android
Yeah.
has the same thing.
I'm gonna tell you something else. Is these younger kids these days? I know y'all ain't gonna believe this, but they really don't text anymore. They use that Snapchat, Facebook Messenger,
Mhm.
and Instagram, and that does not show up as text messages at all. When it hits the tower, it shows up like a phone call. Does that y'all? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's data.
It's data, and it just shows up as going to someone's phone number. So it shows up as a phone call. So these kids sit there and they Snapchat in their car, or they Facebook Messenger in their car, and that's the way around the loophole. That's the way
doesn't
around the
Apple
text.
iMessage show up as a text?
Apple iMessage don't show up on your bill at all.
So that won't show up.
Yeah, that's data.
It's data.
Yeah,
So
it'd
that-
still be
so
good.
that's not.
You can get the iMessages, but you gotta get them from Apple,
Yeah,
Apple only. And again, good luck. We've never been successful getting anything from Apple. Never.
and then like my phone clears text after 30 days, because I don't want text to flood up
Right.
my phone.
Right,
If this phone sits in evidence for, say, over 30 days, those texts might go away,
right.
at least on the phone.
And I know that you guys would be in Cyclist, and I work a lot of, because I do traffic homicide, I do work a lot of anything that happens. Because I do traffic homicide, I do it for the whole city. There's 7 of us. I do a bunch of them. I did the one Governors, where the guy got his head ran over. I don't know if y'all remember that one, a couple years ago. Sky Sales, black guy.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Probably Seminole,
Left an apartment drunk.
you know.
Left an apartment drunk. Rode across Governors.
Oh, was that the one that was, oh, Governors, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came across Governors, got up onto the sidewalk there that goes across the bridge, going eastbound on Governors, and they're on against westbound traffic, but he's up on the sidewalk. He was so drunk. He fell over off onto his bike, fell in the street, and got his head ran over. I never did find the person. They didn't stop, and I never found him. I'll never find him. Because the only thing he got hit was his head. So they basically ran him over. They may not even realize I killed him, to be honest with you. I had the other one with a cyclist.
There was one at Bob Wallace by the Nook
I
a
didn't
few
work that
years
one.
ago.
I didn't work that one. That one died?
I don't think so. We haven't had,
That was
until
about- that was
recently,
about 3
the
years
last
ago.
fatalities, we had those 3 that were in 2008, 2009. So Sarah Chapman,
Yeah.
the kid from Columbia, and then the Horace, somebody that was screaming down Pulaski Pike, took a right-hand turn into his neighborhood too
Yep,
fast
I
and
remember
hit an essentially stopped vehicle.
The vehicle was a no, it's not pest control, it was a medical supply vehicle.
Yeah, some sort
He
of
was just sitting
van,
on the side of the road doing paperwork or something, and he just ran into the
and ran
driver's
into the
side.
side. So it was a motor vehicle fatality, just because the motor vehicle was the large heavy thing.
Right.
If it had been a tree,
Right.
probably the same result. But that's the thing with bike crashes, is motor vehicles get lumped into one category.
Right.
And what was it? Was it 15 years ago where the 2 girls up on Old Railroad, where they overlapped wheels? They were pace lining, overlapped wheels, sent the second one down, and then she got hit by the car.
She fell over in front of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the crash was not caused by the motor vehicle.
Right.
The fatality was,
Right. But the crash was.
but the
caused by
crash
them.
was caused by the bike on bike incident.
They basically caused their own death.
That was up on Carter's Gin, I think.
Something like that. It was up
Yeah.
north.
Yeah.
I worked the other one. The guy didn't die, but riding his bike home at night. Is that not gonna be Pulaski maybe?
Yeah.
It's last year sometime. Got hit from behind.
I don't recall that one.
There's a plant that's right up from there where he got hit. He didn't die, but I had camera footage, but all I had was a car. I mean, I couldn't. There was no tag. It's just a dark car came up behind, hit him, backs up, literally backs up, takes off. I mean, I had nothing. You know, that's the only camera I had. I had a camera from another gas station down the road from it, but unless I knew the exact car, I would have had nothing. They're difficult. The whole texting and distracted driving thing is extremely difficult. We have 0 case law in the state of Alabama right now for anything like that. There was one up in Massachusetts, I think. Lady killed someone on a bike. She was home, but I think they clocked her at 100, 110 or something like that, and she killed him on a bike. They get a hold of her phone. They get her phone. They realize she's been sending text messages. She was on the phone. They have a distracted driving law as well, so they got her for the distracted driving. But really, what they got her for was the speed.
Mm-hmm. It was reckless driving.
And so they just compiled everything. So, believe it or not, she only did 60 days in jail. And then she got 10 years probation. And I'm going to lean on, they didn't really say why, but I'm probably going to lean on the side that the DA probably thought if they went to court, they probably might lose the case. Based on, defense attorneys are good. They only have to prove reasonable doubt, right? So it's so easy to prove that. You only have to convince one person that this person is not guilty of this crime, right? And sometimes it's not that difficult to do, because you just put doubt in someone's mind, you know?
Sometimes it doesn't even take that, it's just, I hate cyclists.
Yep.
It can be that, it can be that, it can be a lot of things, and you know, I could say this right here, I'm not a defense attorney, but what if I just stood in front of you as a jury, and I said, how many of you have ever texted and drove? And didn't
What's
hurt
a
soul?
reasonable person would do.
Right? And then you all might start thinking back in your mind, oh my gosh, I do. And I just say, hey, do you really want to put my client in prison the rest of their life for something you do and you've been lucky enough not to get caught? You've been lucky enough not to hurt somebody. You see what I'm saying? And as you start putting that doubt in your back of your mind and you start thinking, maybe he's right or maybe she's right. You know, I mean.
In effect, if you put that person in prison, you're almost saying that you should be put in prison. It just happened they met the person.
Right. And that's where I'm thinking that the laws are so, even like Shauna was saying, that even in the hands-free states, the laws are still, they're still, the way they're written so that almost people can't be punished. They almost wrote them to appease a crowd. Does that make sense? Like people think, oh no, the people can't text and drive now, but I can't even pull anybody over for it, really. I mean, I can
You
because
have
it's
to
no
physically
longer.
see them
That's it.
doing that up above the window.
But I still have to see their phone. They still would have to say, yes, you can go through my phone. And
Yeah.
who in their right mind would say that to receive a citation? You know what I mean? Because you have that right, like you said, your Fourth Amendment right.
All they have to say was, I was looking at my contacts,
That's it. And no,
Or
you can't see my
maps.
phone.
Or
or
something.
maps, or anything.
Something, you know, something that a reasonable person would
Looking
do.
at the clock.
Right.
Yeah,
You
looking
know,
at,
I mean,
looking at the
it's
clock,
just-
because my clock in my car is broken, or whatever.
I mean, it just,
Changing the radio station.
right. And that's kind of where we're at with all that distracted driving and texting. It's just, it is extremely, extremely difficult. You know, I don't know that you right now in the state of Alabama, you can even go to court on something like that. Shauna won't take it. I don't care how much I put in front of her. She's not going to take it. And Rob Broussard's not going to let her. You know what I mean? And he's just going to tell her no. We would lose. We would lose in a heartbeat, you know? I would need a lot more than just texting, you know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, with the Officer Flanner situation, he had a better civil case than we do a criminal case against her. We have zero criminal case really against her. She's not drunk. She's not high. All we can prove is say that she sent 12 text messages between the time she left that exit and she hit the back of Officer Flannery's parked vehicle, working a car, or he was working another car wreck. That's what he was doing. That's all we have. We can say, well, yeah, this caused her crash. They can say, well, all the attorney's got to say is, well, she sent 12, she didn't hit anybody else. You know? He's got a much better civil case because civilly, it's a lot easier to get that money. It's a lot easier for him to get that money because most people will just settle out of court. Her insurance company will just settle.
And
Right.
the civil case is preponderance of the evidence, I believe.
Right. He's just got to prove she was texting and driving. He doesn't have to prove anything else. And it's easy for him to prove that because they'll have all the records of it, right? And she would have to prove that she wasn't, and she can't prove that, right? So, and the insurance company is probably going to say, hey, well, here's $500,000, could go away. You know what I mean? Because it's easier for them to pay out $500,000 than it probably is to pay $5 million, right? I mean, it's just the chance of them going and losing, you know, it outweighs the $500,000 probably. I don't know what he got. I don't know if he's even done it yet. I would highly doubt that he's even gone to a civil court about it yet. It's only been 2 years. Some of those things will take 8, 9 years, you know, a civil case. I think we have one officer right now that's coming up on a civil case, and it's been 7 years. I mean, I tell you, so if we're talking big money, $1 million, $2 million, $500,000, they're probably gonna drag that thing out for years. And that's kind of where we're at with the distracted driving. I know we get calls about people texting and driving down the road, but we can't just get behind somebody and pull them over, you know? Be like, hey, somebody called you, you're texting and driving, let me see your phone, you know? I mean, would any of you let me see your phone if I told you to? Probably not. You'd be dumb to be honest with you, you know what I mean? I probably
I don't
wouldn't.
text and drive generally, but.
Yeah, but how many times have you?
A lot of our cycling fatalities or our cycling bicycle accidents with vehicles generally come from the homeless. That one guy on Pulaski was not though. He's actually just riding his bike home from work, and he's actually okay. He was hit pretty hard, but he was actually wearing his bike helmet. He was actually wearing reflective gear, and he actually, I think he had elbow pads on too, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of one of the weirder ones, I don't know. But his bike helmet saved his life because he hit his head on the concrete. You know, his bike took more damage than him. I think he broke his leg. But I would think in the grand scheme of things, at 9 o'clock at night, going down Pulaski, you get hit from behind by a 3,000-pound machine. Breaking your leg's probably the best thing that probably could have happened. You know what I mean? if that's your worst injury, I think you're doing okay at that point, you know.
Yeah, that was the one over on Waltriana.
Was there
The one where the
Yes.
rider was hit
Yes.
from behind.
Zayas
That
was
would
at-
kill you.
Jose
Zayas was
Zayas.
at-
Yeah.
That would get killed?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
Okay.
that was a case where
I tried to look at our stuff and I couldn't find anything, but.
a driver got impatient, passed another vehicle that was being held up by Zayas at the time, and it hit him.
Oh, okay.
And then,
I've heard 2 or
Sped
3
off.
different
That's-
accounts of what
that's the-
happened, so I'm not sure exactly
Yeah,
what
I'd have to look up
happened.
that
that's as
case.
close as I know to how it
I
happened.
didn't work that one, so I'd have to look up that case. I tried to find some in ours, but I guess I overlooked that one.
Yeah.
That guy was charged.
Yes,
'Cause-
he was caught and charged, but
Was that the one that just got 20 years?
No,
This would have been too soon to get 20
Yeah.
years.
Would have been.
was
it just last year?
October
just last-
last year.
Yeah, it's too soon.
so.
Unless he pleaded, unless he pled, unless he was like, hey, I'll
That would
take
have made
the.
news, I think. You would have heard.
Yeah,
that.
we would have heard that.
Because there was a couple of them that just pled that we had, but they were just, I think they were just DUIs. Because DUI is easy to get.
Yeah, typically the DUIs are 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
you had the kid down in Baldwin County that killed 3. And the first time he was 17, the family said, well, we'll give him a break. And then he did it 2 years later and killed 2 more.
Yeah.
And he got 40 years.
That is the one they are cracking down on, is the DUI stuff. If you are DUI and you do hit and kill anybody, pretty much you're probably gonna get some prison time. There's no more breaks anymore on that. And so where the Supreme Court has ruled is on the blood draw on those, because we do blood draw. I mean, I'm gonna get their blood, that's just the bottom line. I mean, you're either gonna give it to me, or I'm gonna wake up a judge. And the judge is gonna sign my warrant for me. Because as soon as I tell the judge, hey, I got this guy, I know he's drunk, he just killed somebody on the interstate, or he just killed a cyclist, or he just killed a pedestrian, he's gonna sign it immediately. Anytime I say he killed somebody or she killed somebody, and I believe they're intoxicated, I'll get a warrant like that. It's not gonna be a problem. And I can do warrants in my car, drive them out, wake up the judge, call him or her, whoever it is. They'll sign it. I can bring it back to the hospital and just sit in front of somebody. You either give it to us willingly, or blood's coming out of you. You know, we'll strap you down. It's up to you at this point. You know, we've had to strap down 2 people because they still said no. They said I was doing something illegal. I don't take the blood personally. The nurse does, but
Yeah.
but they claim it's illegal, but it's not, because I've got the warrant in hand, signed by a judge. So you know, most people that I have to get a warrant on, they pretty much when I come back with it, they're like, okay, I thought I was joking around. You know, I had one actually tell me it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Judge, you think a judge is really gonna wake up? Yeah, stand by.
Yeah.
So, and most of them live in this area.
They'll
So
get those calls, I guess.
most of them live in this area, so it doesn't take me long. But there's one that lives. What's her name? I can't think of the judge's name.
I don't want to meet her.
She did the William Darby one. She wouldn't roll on his. He went to her for whatever it was. Immunity. I can't remember her name. She lives way out in Gurley. So when she's on call, it's a haul if you go out to Gurley. She's nice as can be, just she lives way out in Gurley. So, and your issue you have there is you got somebody sitting in the hospital, their blood alcohols just start to drain. You know.
Mhm.
But what they've done now though is what the forensics lab in Montgomery are saying now is they can actually go back and they can, when they draw the blood, they can tell you exactly what it was 2 hours before that. So you can actually, and they'll testify to that, which is something new that they're doing, which is really good. So when we do have people hit a cyclist or kill somebody, kill a cyclist, kill a pedestrian, and we do feel like they're DUI, and we have to wait, say like an hour and a half or 2 hours, when we send our blood work down to the lab, they can actually backtrack and say, okay, well, this is what it was then, 2 hours before, this is what it would have been. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So it's something new they're doing, and it's actually helping us. So we're actually gonna start getting more convictions. So there is stuff coming. It's just like anything else, it's slow, right? Because it might come at first, and then some attorney finds a loophole. So they'll go back and fix the law, or they'll fix whatever it is they need to do to make it so that we don't have those loopholes. You see what I'm saying? So, because you can't refute blood work. Blood work's irrefutable, right? I mean, you can't come and say, that's not my blood, well, that's your blood. You know, you got 500 milligrams of Xanax in your system, and your blood said you were a 0.19 alcohol. You know, so I mean, you know, I do have a person like that right now, so you can't really refute that. You know. But the trigger is where you blow into the tube, not the PPT on the side of the road. The PPT thing on the side of the road is not allowed, is not admissible as evidence. That's just a basic. Rob says, "Hey, I might be intoxicated. Can you breathalyze me?" Sure, we'll breathalyze you. You come out for 0.04, and you're good to go. You know. Now, don't misunderstand. You can be pulled over, and you can still go to jail for DUI at a 0.04. Right? Because everybody drives differently, right? So some people actually can be drunk at 0.04 and not be able to drive a lick. You're just not charged with the 0.08 or over limit, you're charged with 0.08 or under limit. It's a lesser charge, but you can still go to jail for it. And if you're a minor, it's 0.02. If you're under 21, sorry. It's 0.02 if you're under 21. But you can still go to jail for it.
There's so many distractions. There was a fatality in North Carolina. Mom was yelling at kids in the back.
Right.
And the car in front of her moved left to pass the cyclist. She was paying attention to the kids and hit and killed the cyclist.
Yeah.
So distractions are not just phones.
Right. They're not. The guy in Georgia has one of the strictest distracted driving laws out there. I mean, you pretty much are on your phone and you're going to jail. You're going to go to prison probably. Y'all know the church bus that we had, the church from here, right? On the bus on the Atlanta, and he tried to avoid another accident, I think. Someone came into his lane, or he switched lanes. I remember the whole story correctly, but flipped the bus, remember? Killed 3 people in the bus, and the church is, hey, we're backing him up. Nothing was malicious, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they're saying that he was possibly talking on his phone. So they got his phone records, and he was actually talking on his phone. So now this guy's going to go to prison, probably. No matter how much the church backs him up, no matter how much the congregation, the people in the community, he's in the state of Georgia, and Georgia has some of the strictest distracted driving laws there is. This guy's got a clean record. This is the only thing he's probably ever done wrong. And he's probably going to, more than likely, he's going to go to prison. You know, not for the rest of his life, but I guarantee he goes for probably a few years. You know, would I put him in prison? Heck no. Heck no. You know, you're adding insult to injury to me at that point. But that's, you know, when you're talking about a state that has, you know, 6, 7, 8, 900 fatalities a year, you know, 1,000 fatalities a year, you know, you're looking at a lot, you know, and they're trying to cut down on those, you know. Putting people in prison, I don't know if that helps, but, you know, that's just me, you know what I mean. We had 26 in the city of Huntsville last year. We had 26 fatality wrecks. That was a record for us. On our cyclist ones, we have a lot more than what people think. We just have a lot that don't get severely injured. You know, so it doesn't end up on the news. It doesn't end up in something online where you can see. You know what I'm saying? We get a lot of those, but a lot of those again are a lot of them are homeless individuals who ride the wrong direction, who ride without bike helmets, who ride
lights at night.
Yeah, no reflective gear at night, no reflections on their bikes at night, no lights on their bikes. Some do, but a lot of them don't, you know. They run stop signs, you know, they think that I'm on a bike.
As I've read, helmets are not required above 18.
Correct.
16.
16, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about the GoPro videos, those type of video? Do you think they're good for the cyclists, and can they be,
Yeah, you can
will
use
they
them.
hold up in court?
Yeah. It's like having one in your car. Y'all have any of those? Everybody have one of those in their car?
I've got them on my bike, I don't have any in my car.
Okay, some people put them in their car.
They're probably
because,
great on a civil case.
Yeah, you can use them in a criminal case too, probably.
Oh, really?
The only issue is you're going to have is just remember, any video you have, the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorney are both going to need it.
Well, the other
video
case in
evidence.
that is that if the glare is such that you can't see the driver's face in the video,
Yeah.
criminal case is gonna get thrown out. I
Right.
know because I had one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't thrown out, it was just not taken up.
It's called null prost,
Yeah.
where they.
And because I also didn't actually physically see the driver's face. Can't identify the person, so.
Right.
I should have taken it to civil, because I could have at least gotten the person who was responsible for the vehicle itself.
Right, it'll always fall
Who was
back.
probably the driver, but still.
Yeah, it'll always fall back on that person, you know? It's just like those dash cam videos in your car, people get them because people slam their brakes in front of them, they rear-end them, and they can prove, hey, I'm not at fault in this, you know? Because nobody cares about how much distance you're supposed to have between two cars, you know? That's irrelevant, it's just irrelevant that you were driving so close that when the person did slam on their brakes, you know? Like we had one the other day, a guy slammed on his brakes in the middle of the road because he was pissed off about the guy behind him. Guy behind him slams on his brakes, dude gets out like, you're at fault, you're at fault. Dude's got a dash cam in his car, you know, shows it to us, and we're like, sorry man, yeah, I don't know what to tell you, you know, he finally gave up, he's like, okay, I did slam on my brakes in front of him, I was mad, you know.
Brake check.
He brake checked him, but, you know, in the state of Alabama, the distance between two cars versus your speed, if you were to actually do that distance properly, I think at 70 miles an hour, they say you need
40, is it 20 feet per 10?
I think they have it's like 145 or 150 feet of stopping distance, but mathematically that's not possible. You would actually travel 190 feet if you were to slam in your brakes at 70 miles an hour. So someone in Montgomery, their math is bad. Because I don't know, to THI school, and we had to do all the math, and they're like, you see, the law is written, although it's not actually a law, but it's the statute.
It's a rule of thumb that got
Right.
extended out. The faster you go, the less the rule of thumb works.
Right, but their philosophy is at 70, you need 140 or 150 feet.
It
of stop
probably
distance.
works at 55.
Right, but they say it's 70, but at 70 it doesn't work because you actually travel like 190 feet. So their whole philosophy is, I don't know who's doing their math, but it's terrible.
If there is a facility, a usable facility, which that is the questionable legal term, is who defines usable,
Right,
you must use it.
yes,
So, you know, riding outside of that facility would be technically, you know, cause a legal problem.
right. And I agree with you on that side road stuff, especially going up Clinton. You have Cemetery, you have Hall Avenue, or the Hall right there next to it. Not Hall, but
Hall does come out to right by the parkway.
no, Cemetery, what's the next one?
I don't know
Cemetery,
what
the cuts
it is.
between Campus 805.
Yeah, there's about two.
I can't think of the name. Anyway, that next one as well, where people just, there's so many people that run that stop sign. They just come out and just make that right turn. You know what I mean? And if you're on a bike, like you said, and you have the right of way, what if that car comes up Cemetery and just turns right? You know what I mean? Or what if they come up Cemetery, they look left, only looking for a car, but they don't even see the person on the bicycle, and they turn, and that person on the bike has to either slam on their brakes or they do get hit. You know, and luckily it hasn't happened yet. I believe it's going to happen because I'm just a firm believer that something always is going to happen.
I mean, there's
You know, and it's unfortunately, it's up to the cyclist or it's up to the pedestrian to really watch what they're doing. You know, at the end of the, even though they have the right of way, I still need to err on the side of caution. My life is more important than, you know, getting.
There are just certain instances, and it's almost always at an intersection, that there's so much going on
Yes.
that you have to watch for. You gotta watch to the right for the vehicle that comes up to the intersection, is gonna make a right-hand turn.
Mhm.
You gotta watch for the oncoming traffic that's gonna make a left-hand turn in front of you. You gotta watch for the traffic coming behind you that's gonna make a right-hand turn in front of you.
Right.
You gotta watch just for the traffic coming up behind you too close. It becomes a little bit more than you can deal with at times.
How long have you all lived here in the city of Huntsville?
20 years.
That's a long time.
19.
19, 20. We were at the same time, but I know I can remember 20 years ago, you only had about 80,000 people living here. You know, now we're at what, 200, 210?
No.
On any given day in the city of Huntsville, we have almost 500,000 people in the city. You know,
it used be
trying to
more.
go home, trying to leave at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, and you're talking about, in the next 5 years, they're talking about 80,000 more people moving here. You know, the infrastructure is not built for it, you know, and you have bicyclists on the road, you have pedestrians, it's just, we're getting more and more traffic and more
And
congested.
the bikes will be increasing in number because a lot of these people that are moving into the city are young professionals
Right,
that do that.
right, I
Now,
agree
that's
with
what
you.
they want.
right,
And the city's starting to try and provide it to them. So you're gonna see them out there a lot more.
right. I agree with you, and I think the issue is training. I don't think it's training the new people, I think it's training the older people. It's
Yeah.
training the people who've lived in
Oh,
the
yeah.
city of Huntsville for 50 years.
Because you're used to something.
They're used to
It's training
nothing.
all of them. It's training all of them.
Huh?
It's training all of them.
I know, but I think if you get to the younger people, they know, hey, this is the trend. The trend is, hey, we ride bikes, we ride these bikes, the bikes that got downtown, they get left all
The
over the city.
cruisers,
The ones that get left all over the city.
yeah.
And then people
Yeah.
call us, hey, y'all do the city bike. I'm, oh, well, not my problem.
It's not my bike.
Yeah, it's not, you
City
know.
Bike is a private organization doing it.
But, you know, with those bikes, they're supposed to, people ride those on the sidewalk. This is the kicker here to this whole thing, right? The city went in and said, okay, it's a violation of city ordinance to ride your bicycle on the sidewalk.
When did that change?
It hasn't. What changed was
I thought it
those
was-
little pace bikes, they're allowed to be rode on the sidewalk. So we make exceptions. You see what I'm saying? And there's a problem there to me. Like, you say, you can't ride your Cannondale, you know, on the sidewalk and go 15 miles an hour. But I can go rent me a pace bike with no bike helmet, and I can ride it anywhere I want to on the sidewalk and run half the people over downtown when it's busy down there. It's 9 o'clock at night on a Friday, you know, and it's slam busy, and we got people, you know what I mean? And it's just, we make exceptions when we shouldn't be making exceptions. If the rule is the rule, then let's stick by the rule, right? I mean, if he can't ride his Cannondale, or you can't ride your Giant, you know, or whatever it might be that y'all ride,
Trek.
tread, you
Yeah.
know,
I'm a weirdo, I ride work on a trike.
or Scott. All right, I like to have a Scott road bike. Yeah, if I can't do those, why should you be able to ride a pace bike on the sidewalk? You know what I mean? That's also exception. I get it, but you gotta stop at the stop sign, because if someone was at the stop sign and thought you were gonna stop, and they went through and hit you, you're gonna be at fault for running the stop sign. You gotta understand that. Not only are you at fault, you might be dead, you know, or severely injured. You could have a brain injury. You're not wearing a bike helmet. You know, I don't cite. I can write them a citation. I try not to. I try to teach them a lesson. You know, try to teach them, hey, don't inform them.
Unless they piss
That
you
just
off.
brought up. Multi-use paths that happen to cross roads, and they have a stop sign or a yield sign, are those,
Because it's a multi-use
Use
path,
path.
is it a valid stop sign that can be
Yeah.
Yes.
good?
What are we talking about?
So, north,
in my
Aldridge
case, it would
Creek,
be County Line or Mill Creek, County Line Road
Right.
in Madison.
Yeah.
Both sides of the road, there's a multi-use path at every single freaking
Mhm.
interchange of vehicle versus.
Every cross street,
Yes, every drive, every parking lot.
I've heard it's like
There's-
50 stop signs up that.
I don't know, I didn't bother counting. I'm just-
On County Line?
Yes.
When you're
Okay.
north of the train tracks. Going up by the Publix on County Line,
Yeah, I just came from there.
yeah. Well, I've been
Not
told that by
today,
other
yes.
people,
The
that they say
multi-use
there's
paths
like,
on both
stop
sides,
signs
there's
all
a
down the
stop
road.
sign at every
Yep.
single intersection.
Ideally, you know, because I'm the ones, I didn't put county line, but I harassed the city umpteen times to put them on the eastern bypass and on Aldridge Creek. It's preferable if they go to a yield, because then that defines, because what it is you have you have multi-directional vehicle traffic with no right-of-way. And so by, you know, the way it should work is the multi-use path has to yield right away to the vehicles in the roadway. When they put stop signs on, it gets kind of problematic because that is a traffic control device.
Right, it's a traffic control device.
You can be cited for running a stop sign
Right.
for ignoring that. It's better if you use yield because that says you on the path must yield the right of way, but you don't have to. You know, if it's clear, you can go. But yes, I've harassed the city for years to make sure that every time you have a cross street, you have a traffic control device because then there's a you know, the people using that know who has the right of way.
And the
There's
yield
no-
sign puts the responsibility back on you.
Yes.
Right. See what I'm saying? Even though the stop sign does too, but the yield sign basically says, hey, this is on you. You better look at what you're doing. You better look and make sure there's no traffic, or you better look, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Where a
Okay,
stop
no.
sign, most people see a stop sign, they're like, oh, I need to physically stop. And so they're going to. Most will.
No, not on the path. But the thing is if you get hit because you did not abide by a stop sign on a multi-use path, it's your fault.
Right.
If you try and take it even a civil trial, you know, the defense attorney's gonna go, you know, did you stop at that stop sign? No, okay, you know.
I don't even know what we're talking about on County Line Road, because I was on County
I
Line
mean, you go over
yesterday.
there, just, I've
Left
never
or
heard of-
I haven't seen those, but I got, you know, the city to put them on the eastern bypass in Aldridge Creek, between 4 Mile Post and Mira Vista,
Oh, yeah, I remember.
because that's got a bunch of street crossings in it,
Yeah, there's
especially at Sherwood,
Sherwood.
and that's where I would
There's a
take
lot
my
of people that just
classes.
blow right across there and go straight across the road.
And the same thing's gonna probably happen on Waltriana.
Handing them out, because that's the thing, people realize that if you're cycling at night, you are required to have at least a headlight.
We gave them out to most of like the homeless people.
Yeah, but they still didn't go
I put them
anywhere.
on a couple homeless people's bikes, but who knows who they were, you know. Yeah, and I don't know if this is a possibility for you guys, but I don't know if it's a possibility to get with, you know, we have Huntsville Police, we have our own webpage, our own Facebook page now. I don't know if we do Twitter or not, but that might be something to see if they'll put that out there for you as well. You know, because they do some traffic stuff on there, especially when roads are closed, things like that, you know. They will put that on the Facebook page. You may want.
You went to the second one that basically gutted it, that said, if there's, you know, a bike lane there, it's speeds greater than like 35 miles an hour, and there was like several other things that basically said it's, you know, not enforceable. There are ways actually of enforcing it. There's some, I think it was Chattanooga and a few other police departments have effective ways of using the 3-foot law. The problem is the way it's written is, in the act of passing, you must give 3 feet.
Right.
So when you hit them from behind, you're not in the act of passing.
Correct.
So therefore, the 3-foot law cannot apply
Right.
when you get rear-ended. That's not in the act of
There was a
passing.
case.
But I don't-
Even in the military.
Yeah. I just don't see where anytime soon. I kind of agree with Shauna that we're actually going to get where texting and driving is going to be just something we can get people on. I think we're still at that point where that Fourth Amendment is going to get us every time. You know what I mean? It's going to get us every time. It's just, there's no way around it. You know, it's that, and I hate to tell you this, but these cell phone provider companies, you know, Apple and Samsung, their goal is to protect your privacy. You know, and they feel like if they give up all your info, you know, Rob might be like, shoot, I got an iPhone. I'm getting rid of my iPhone. They're just going to willingly give up my info. I'm out.
Exactly.
I'm out. Here you go, iPhone.
One case, and they lose billions of customers.
Correct. And it's people. I know there was one where I can't remember where it was, but Apple wouldn't release info. They were trying to get a texting and driving fatality conviction, and Apple wouldn't release anything. And these people, the families were up in arms, and everybody's up in arms. But you're only up in arms when it's not you. Do you see what I'm saying? When it's not you, you're up in arms. And so that's how I feel, and I think that's a police officer, that's how I feel. Like, my job is to protect, not just try to protect the city as best as I can, but also your rights, right? And my job is to protect your rights and not violate your rights at the same time, right? So that's my job, is to protect them the best way I can possibly can. Even if I believe you're 100% in the wrong, my job is still to protect your rights against someone else. That's just what it is, right? I mean, that's part of my job, you know, and it's part of my job as a traffic homicide investigator as well. I can believe till I'm purple that you texted and drove, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna violate your rights, and your Fourth Amendment right is something I have to protect as well for you. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna lie. I don't lie for anybody. You know, I don't care who it is. I wouldn't lie for my own mother. You know, I just don't lie for people. You know, and I'm never going to. I've never lied to a judge. If I feel like I was wrong, I'll tell the judge I was wrong. You know, because my integrity in me is everything. You know, my integrity is more than this badge. So I think that's what we're getting at is just so. The better law would be distracted driving. That would be the better law. But again, he talks on his cell phone, doesn't hurt a soul. You talk on your cell phone and you kill somebody. Am I really going to put you in prison for the next 10, 15 years? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you're still.
Me talking on the phone talking on the phone how's that any different than talking to somebody who's happened to be sitting in the.
It's not. And they've
That's
proven
easy.
that they've actually proven that the phone is not the distraction. The conversation is the distraction. You see what I'm saying? They've proven that over and over. You can look that stuff up. That it's you engaging because you get, you know, if
Pulls your attention away no matter what it is.
right. What if I'm in an argument with my wife in the car? and I'm driving down the road, and she's, you know, well, you didn't do the dishes, and you didn't do the laundry, and I'm like, well, I work all day long, and we're going back and
Somebody
forth.
slams on their brakes in front
Somebody
of
slams on
you.
the brakes, and I don't see it, you know what I mean? Because my focus is on
The dishes.
the dishes, and my wife told me I didn't do them, you know, and I'm telling her she did back in the living room, you know what I mean? We don't argue about
What are
stuff.
you gonna do, tell them, not let any passengers be in your vehicle?
Right, you see what I'm saying? So it's just,
It comes to, there's a principle in gross negligence. DUI is considered gross negligence.
right,
That is a behavior that is so far beyond the bounds of acceptable behavior as should be, criminal.
right,
So until the society decides that distracted driving is so far beyond the bounds of acceptable driving behavior, it,
Yes,
it won't pass the reasonable person standard.
and I think it's because
Still
everybody
impossible.
can relate to distracted driving. Everybody can do it, right? But you may not drink at all,
Mhm.
and he might drink and drive, you know? And you can say, hey, it's easy to call Uber, it's easy to call Lyft, it's easy to call a cab. I never drink, his intent was to go to Sammy T's, chug beers, and then he had a full intention of getting behind the wheel of his car and driving home, right? And society can relate and say, hey, he had intent. He was malicious in his intent. You know what I mean? He was malicious in his actions. He knew he was chugging beers. He knew he was intoxicated. He's a grown adult. He knew. But, and you can prove that easily, obviously, right? But on the distracted driving part, you talk on your cell phone. You talk on your cell phone. I talk on my cell phone. He talks on it and kills somebody. The three of us can sit here and go, I don't think they
Same
should be
stuff we were
punished.
doing.
I do that all the time, and I've never hurt a soul. You see what I'm saying? I'm agree with this gentleman. Even blown up even more, right? I mean, if you shows you running a stop sign, that defense attorney is going to eat you alive. They're going to eat you alive. And I don't know if you've ever been on the stand with a defense attorney. If anybody else ever has, you ever been questioned by one? Anybody? You'll want to throw a punch on them after about 2 minutes. Because their goal is to crawl your skin and get underneath your skin. And they do a very, very good job of it. You'll end up wanting to throw a punch one of them. And the first time you even get out of line, the judge will put you back in line. Basically, you know what I'm saying? The judge will put you back in check. Because they're allowed to ask all these questions. And as soon as they find you doing something wrong, they're just gonna stay on it. So they're gonna stay.